And speaking about one of the best historically, let's talk about, at least as of now, it's Coach Clarkson's team, the Hawthorn Hawks and the Western Bulldogs. And Donnie, would you believe it? I really wish I actually went ahead and tipped them. I really wanted to last round in our tipping. I couldn't pull the trigger, but man, I should have because Hawthorn pulls off another surprise upset as they suffocate the Dogs into submission. And this is the lowest Bulldogs score in any game since March 20th, 2020 against Collingwood. In that game, they only scored 34 points compared to this round's 37. And Hawthorn now have 5 wins and a draw over current finals teams. They have wins over GWS, Brisbane, Essendon, the Bulldogs now, and the Sydney Swans. And then, of course, they have that draw over Melbourne. And now, if you're the Western Bulldogs, you really have to be concerned here. They've now dropped back-to-back games, and they're actually at risk of dropping out of the top 4 entirely based on percentage points. Because the team, the Sydney Swans and Brisbane Lions, actually have a chance to tie them in points, and depending on margins, they could actually pass them in percentage points. Brisbane, of course, they're the closest ones to this as they're 4 points back, but only 2 percentage points currently behind the Western Bulldogs. And also, Donnie Soso, how worried should you be of the Doggies and losing their top 4 spot? And I really think Hawthorn is going to regret letting Coach Clarkson go after this season. Because this last stretch of runs he's put on has been amazing.
All right, let's start with the bad and we'll go to the good. We'll work our way to the good part here. On the doggies, it is hard to argue that this they are finding a way to play their worst possible footy at the absolute worst possible time. And the crazy part is that some people kind of expected this when Bruce went down. A lot of people were saying, "Well, this could really affect them." The fact Jamaro Ugle-Hagan is not played by Bevo, and they just for some weird reason their strength, the midfield, the section that was probably the one thing everybody said these guys are going to dominate the midfield. There's not going to be a better team. In the last 3 rounds, they have not been very good in the midfield. They are getting smashed, and they got thoroughly smashed in this game against Hawthorn. So if I'm a Doggies fan, I am a tiny bit concerned because your game this week is against a red hot Port team that's 5-0, that's playing at home, and a Port team with something to prove. Because if they win, they make sure the Doggies are not going to be in the top 2 spots for sure, and it potentially gives Port Adelaide a chance to be second, giving them a chance for a home final where they have a chance to get to the preliminary final with a win. So there's a lot of things still to be played in this game here. So if I'm the Western Bulldogs, I'm thoroughly concerned going into this round. You're not playing well, and you're going up against a Port team that is finding its mojo at just the right time. Now, over to the good side, and I cannot disagree with you that Alistair Clarkson is pulling some of his best coaching abilities at the absolute best possible time. In fact, I was watching a show called First Crack on Fox Footy, and they pulled up the top 5 records since round 13. Number 1 is the Hawthorn Hawks with 4 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw over top 8 teams since round 13, with Sydney in second at 3-1, the Western Bulldogs 2-2, St. Kilda 2-3, and the Melbourne Demons at 2-2. So since round 13, it is hard to argue that the Hawthorn Hawks are not the absolute hottest team in the entire competition. And the scary part to think is they're sitting in 14th place on the ladder. How crazy is that? But it just shows you that if you can get hot at just the right time, anything can happen. Um, if and there's still people talking nowadays about the fact that Alistair Clarkson is winning games, and you see sometimes when you watch the shows, you see the distance between him and Mitchell, because there was one thing that all the other coaches were hugging and high fiving Alistair Clarkson. And if you look really closely in the camera angle, Mitchell's in the back leaning against the wall, not doing anything. So it
Oh man.
really is this really interesting situation because there was some people that thought Sam Mitchell probably would prefer them not win and get the highest possible draft pick to start anew. And each and every single one of these wins takes them 4 points closer up in the ladder to it's a further and further draft pick. So it'll be very, very fascinating to see how this all thing goes. But just an absolute masterclass by Alistair Clarkson. But his young guys are playing well. And there's where you kind of throw the thing, well, that's Mitchell's job coaching Box Hill and some of the younger players. So it'll be a very interesting and fascinating game considering this absolutely on fire Hawthorn team gets a now done with their season, no more finals, Richmond Tigers team this round. Could we see Hawthorn get one more win to end the season and kind of proverbially kick the tail of the Tigers out of the finals? Kind of a little exclamation point on a non-final season for the Richmond Tigers.
Wouldn't that be remarkable? Oh, oh, I'm calling it. Wait, oh, I can't guess. Spoilers for round 23 tipping. I guess we'll just have to wait and see the full one there. I guess I kind of spoiled it last round too, so who knows? Fine, I'll just say Hawthorn is beating Richmond in round 23. All right, let's move on to.
Save the subtlety, sir. Save the subtlety.
There's nothing subtle about me. We all know this.